Cassandra Lauren Gordon, and I am the host of the Black Creative Handbook podcast. And I am here with... Say your name.
A to B.
A to B. This is the place to be. Okay. So I'm really super excited because this is another podcast that I love the talk host. I'm not going to spoil it to you because I always like giving my opinions, but I'm going to let the interviewee say stuff because I hate listening to podcasts and the interviewer just says stuff. It's not about me. It's about our guest and getting into her mind and what she does and what she produces and creates on a regular basis. So, Ada, would you like to, in a few words or sentences, to describe what you do?
Yes, absolutely. So I am primarily a gospel singer and songwriter, but I have been able to build this really cool platform called Talk to A to B, which is kind of in two branches. So I've got the talk show and then I've got the radio show as well. And this just allows for like different kind of like dynamic conversations around Black women's identities, the Black family, as well as other things that I love to talk about. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. So before we get into this great podcast where every person, Black, white, whatever, should listen to this podcast, because I think we talked off camera, off podcast, saying how much it was such a mental release and how I felt uplifted listening to your podcast. We always on this podcast ask about you first before what you do. So some questions we ask, okay, do you like tea or coffee?
Love that question. I am a tea drinker.
Okay,
I love tea.
What type of tea do you like?
So at the moment, I'm like PG Tips, English breakfast. That's me like every single day. I'm trying to actually cut back on that, but like, because I know tea is not good for you in terms of like your teeth and also like the caffeine and things like that. But yeah, especially now, like when the sky is grey and the weather is gloomy and it's cold, like cup of tea. Just gets me going.
Yeah, we're British, so a tea solves everything. You know, a good,
really and
good
truly,
brew, isn't it? Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the next question I'm going to ask you: the tube, the underground for the US listeners, or bus? Which one?
Do you know what? The tubes over the years have become unbearable. So like if I can take a bus somewhere, it might be a bit longer of a journey, I'll do it, you know, I'll just take the bus. I just can't stand the tubes. The tubes here are very stuffy and like dirty, and there's just no concept of hygiene on the tube either. So it's like, at least on the bus, you can kind of section yourself off, put your bag on the seat or something. But the tube, someone can just stand over you and be breathing and coughing and
armpits when it's summer, you know. I don't like it when it's hot on the northern line. Really. It's very, very packed and I'm just like armpits, and I'm just like I can't. So exactly. You know, I took up cycling, so I'm just like I just can't.
I love that.
I can't.
Oh, that's so cool.
Well, I don't do cycling now because it's cold, but back in the day, I used to cycle when it was summer because it was just too much. The next question I'm going to ask you might reveal you for the person who you are. Are you an Android person or are you an Apple person? That will reveal to everybody who you are.
I have to be really honest with you, even though like I'm looking at my iPhone 12 right now. I am an Android person. I can't lie to you. I like the cross functionality between Android and like everything. It literally is like a mini PC. Yes, iPhone is convenient, and I guess it's what most people have. But for me, I'm very much like tech based. So for me, I'm always transferring things. I'm always doing things between my phone and my laptop. So Android just does a better job at it.
Okay, understood. And thinking about advice, what advice would you give to your 12-year-old self? Oh, the internet. Come on, internet. Okay, we're back now. Just to let you know that it's okay. We just carry on because we're Black women and we just do what we need to do. So sorry, just in case you didn't hear me.
Amen to that.
Yeah. We just have to carry on. What advice would you give to your 12-year-old self?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can carry on.
What advice would I give to my 12-year-old self?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it's really cutting out.
No,
But I
but
did hear the question.
I can hear you, so it's all
Okay.
good. Yeah.
All right. Yes. So yeah, I think the main advice would be to stay close to God and just do it anyways. That would definitely be the key advice, because I got to a point where I was just like second guessing everything I wanted to do, because it just felt like no one around me was doing that. And then again, like no one really understand like how are you gonna make a thing out of what you want to do. But I'm so glad to be alive in this era, because now I can do all the things I want to do. So yeah, that would
That
be
is
what I tell
so
my 12-year-old self.
that is so positive. Positive. Okay, thank you. No, because I say this, you might be around with a lot of people positive and have faith, but I'm not always around lots of positive people. So I have to make sure I,
Yeah,
surround myself, and keep,
I know
a
it's
very
really
positive.
breaking up.
Okay. So what we're gonna do, we just have to adjust. We might make it a bit short, but it's okay, because I'm sure people are very forgiving in COVID life, right?
It's true.
People are super, super forgiving. So forgive us. The content is good.
Please.
You know, when you see the
Amen.
TikTok and they say, wait for it, wait for it.
Yes.
And so here we are. And I do minimal editing.
Yeah.
So please do not let me edit internet Wi-Fi. I do minimal editing because the content is so good. No, okay. Right. So we're going to get into talk in a few sentences, talk about your podcast and why is it important?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the podcast was really like a spur of the moment thing. You know, we were in lockdown and I just didn't know like what to do to make the time pass. All the shows I was looking forward to do, gone. All the things I was planning to attend, holidays I was planning to take, gone. So it's like, what do I do in this time? And me, I'm a writer, so I always journal everything, every stage of my life, every stage of my journey. And so one day I just was like whisking through that, and I was like, wow, like look at all the things I've like done in these last few years of just actually doing what I, have always wanted to do. And I thought, this is some crazy experiences. So I was like to a couple of my friends at the time, I was like, I really want to like talk to you guys like about some of this stuff. Like, should we just like go on IG live and just do it, And at the time I was trying to, so I have a mother project for Talk State to Be. And at the time I was trying to think, okay, now that has to kind of like take a pause until all of this COVID thing, like what can I do, like using that same platform to like do something. So I thought to my friends, can we just do it on there rather than on my personal Instagram? So I kind of quickly just changed the name on there and everything like that. And then we started just doing the Instagram lives. And then when we started doing the Instagram lives and we're having these conversations, so many things were coming up about our experiences just being like Black women in entertainment. And it was just like, it was so eye-opening and so interesting to think that it's like, no matter what we're doing, no matter where we are, like constantly like that, dual identity of being Black and being a woman constantly plays a recurring factor in how we kind of experience that space. And so I was like, right, cool. I think it's clear to me now what I want this platform to predominantly be about. And it's really about, Black women being able to just share their stories, tell their truth, but also for it to be a space to uplift one another. So in spite of those experiences, in spite of those, things that kind of just remind us of what's wrong with the world, let's look at what's right. Let's look at, how far we've come, what we've managed to achieve, and, the path that we're on. Because this is things that some of our parents or like generations before us would never have had the opportunity to do, but now we do. So like, let's, continue to like support that and encourage, even the next generation to be in that same mind space of like, okay, cool, yes, there is still that disparity, there is still that injustice, there is still that discrimination, but I am like a person first and foremost. I am who I am first. So regardless of my color, regardless of, how the world wants to identify me, there is a whole character, a whole personality, a whole story here. And that's what needs to be heard. That's what needs to be seen, because that's going to impact someone else somewhere. In any way, you just never know. Because for me growing up, that was literally me, YouTube, blogs. I lived in those things because it was so nice to see so many like Black people of all shades from all over the world, just showing you their lives, telling you what's going on with them. And that literally helped me even come away from a lot of things. So now that, this opportunity came, I thought, right, I know what I want to do. I do want it to focus on women though, because I still feel like, particularly in the entertainment industry, there is too much of an archetype of the way that people treat Black women, the way people view Black women, and even the way we're like represented and like portrayed. And it's just like, there are so many of us who maybe don't fit that mold or don't come into those brackets, but that doesn't make us any less Black. It doesn't make us any less of a woman. And I just feel like the more people can see themselves in different spaces, the more it can encourage, more of a positive kind of like cycle of, Black women just owning spaces, owning who they are, and just putting on for the next generation, really.
No, I think it's so important for you to say that. I'm waiting. Can you hear me? Come on, computer. Yeah, I'm back now. So what I was saying, like, I think it's so important what you're saying, because if you're not Cardi B, or you're not like a bad B persona, basically your value as a Black woman is worthless. And I'm not saying that you're not allowed to be a bad B. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that you have to be, covered up and be a nun. But where is the flex in this entertainment in industry? Where is the flex? So yeah, it's really interesting that you say that. And you talk about the duality and things are coming up, being a Black woman, being a woman, race, it's the intersectionality. So what things come up when you talk to the women on your podcast, on your IT lives, in your community? What things come up?
Gosh, where does one start? Like, it's crazy. So for me, if I speak of my own experience, like when I first started music, being that, I am a bit of a curvier girl and I am darker skinned in complexion, there was sort of an expectation of what I would sound like, how I would dress, what kind of spaces I would want to be in. And I could tell that because of the kind of invitations I would get to certain types of events, how people would approach me to do certain projects and things like that. And it always was a bit like off-putting for me. I don't know why, but for all my life, I've always come across to people as like, maybe I'm very confident, I'm very like, bold and whatever. But really the truth is, I get very, very anxious. And sometimes, even though I know all of the things I want to say, it doesn't always translate when I'm speaking. And so a lot of the time I would just stand there or sit there and just be like, yeah, no. But these times it's just because I'm thinking, why have you assumed that I'm this person? Why haven't you just said, hi, how are you? Why have you come to me with a certain vibe or a certain energy, assuming that I'm going to respond a certain way? And that just makes me uncomfortable. And then they don't see me again. I won't return to that event or that space, or I will not collab with that person, period. Other stories and events that I've heard is, people going for example, a film set and assuming that, the Black woman is quote unquote the help. So maybe somebody who's going to be, providing tea and biscuits or something, always going to be cleaning. And honestly, when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's wild. Like that, I thought we weren't doing that anymore. But like literally assuming like they have this like non-existent role. Well, this person is actually one of the writers, is one of the people that's come to see what she's written, come to life. And you've just automatically said, oh yeah, can you make me a cup of tea? Just insane to me. And it's just like there's so many little like microaggressions and just little experiences that happen, and like, very nuanced as well, because sometimes it's really hard to tell, like, are you being racist, or is it just because I'm a woman, or is it because you genuinely just have no idea like who else is a part of this? Like, and sometimes even that people can gaslight you a little bit and kind of make you feel like, oh, you're thinking about it too much, like you're in your head. But then actually, once you've experienced it once, twice, thrice, you're like, hold on a second, this is a pattern. Like you're intentionally singling me out. Like you are making a point to make a point that you have an issue with my identity. And it's just unacceptable, to be honest. So I love when I hear like, stories of just like different Black women in those situations and in those instances literally just saying, no, I'm not who you think I am, and I'm going to make sure that you're aware of that, and I'm going to make sure that my colleagues are aware that this is how you treat people that look like me. So this doesn't happen again. And that's why it's important for there to be Black women everywhere, because you know then you're in somewhat good hands. If you can see another Black woman in that space, owning that space, you know that there is a less likelihood of someone who is non-Black being able to take advantage or get away with those kind of nuanced microaggressions.
So there's a lot there, because I can tell that you're very passionate of representation and making sure that people speak their truth and to be heard. And you talk.
Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me? No.
Yeah.
You can hear me, but it lags. Sorry,
okay,
guys.
Yeah,
it's raining where we are. Or women, it's raining where we are. So I can hear, as I said, I can hear the passion. I can hear how representation is super important, and the relatability what you have, especially on your podcast, that people can like, yeah, I get it, I got it, sis. Yeah, it's comfort, because sometimes in certain spaces you think like, am I crazy? You might think, oh my God, am I crazy? You might be thinking as well that, oh, why are people singling me out and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And it's just not a great feeling. But you know, when you can sense check and listen to this podcast and listen to these issues, like, you're not alone. So it's like having a group of friends and sisters with you going through this journey called life.
Absolutely.
So so I do really appreciate it. As you said, it's not all about, you know, love and hip hop kind of narratives of Black women tearing each other down for entertainment. And no, that's not what you're about, right? Yeah. So how do you see pushing that mainstream kind of image away? Black women are collaborating and uplifting each other. Like, what trends do you see in that with your community? Or
what the main thing I see is actually, like, so a lot of the people that, you know, came onto, like, for example, when I first started the show in Instagram Live, a lot of those women, I know all of them, but not all of them know each other. But what was so funny is that after that, a lot of women started actually following each other. And they realized, oh my gosh, you're friends with this person, or like, you actually go out with my cousin, or like, oh my gosh, you're so-and-so's, you know. And it was just like, I literally just saw like all of those people literally just become friends, and I've seen them since work on projects together and do loads of different stuff. And that made me so happy. And they'll literally come back and tell me like, Ada, thank you so much. Like, because this is so dope. Because I was looking maybe for a photographer and now I have one, or I was looking for this, or I wanted to really work with this particular person and I saw them on your show and I thought, okay, this is cool. I can shoot my shot now because they don't feel so far away. And I love that, because I will even say, like, going back even into like my childhood or like my earlier days, I was always the friend that brought different friends together. So I find it quite funny now that I'm doing what I'm doing and it's still kind of the same thing, even though it's in a different space. And I think for me, that's what's most important, because a lot of the time there, especially online there's a very weird, you know, rhetoric about Black women and how, you know, unfriendly they are, and like how, you know, maybe harsh or aggressive they are, or, you know, just hard to approach or speak to. But in reality, a lot of the time, it's just fear. It's just, you know, maybe a bit of anxiety, like just not knowing, like, how will the other person perceive what I'm going to say? And also in Britain, we do have this culture of like beg friending being such like a taboo. Like, that's just not something you do. You don't just big up someone just because, like, you don't just praise someone just because. But for me, I was like, well, I don't get it. Like, if I enjoy someone's music, whether they live around the corner or, you know, they're the biggest star in the world, you know, you just say what you need to say. And I feel like that's really become evident over this last year of me doing this, is just seeing that kind of shift between the women I know just coming together and just like constantly under each other's posts and like posting each other's stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is so sick, because I actually love doing this stuff. Like, even outside of this, I love just bringing people together, because I don't know, I would say I'm such a random person. Like, you can't really put me in a box, like, because I like so many different things. I'm always just doing and talking to different people and whatever the case may be. So now that obviously I've started something of my own, it's been very helpful in that it's those random people, those random places that are supporting me. But then it also then allows for the project itself to continue even beyond me, which is essentially the goal, which is that once this is all said and done, that people still carry on that behavior, that mindset of, you know, coming together, working together, supporting each other, and whether they know it or not, change that narrative of, you know, Black women being a certain type, you know, whether it's loud or just aggressive or just you know, hard to work with, etc., etc. Actually, there's so many different types of Black women. I hosted about 26 of them. God knows how many more there are out there. So that's like just an opportunity for people who maybe haven't even thought beyond what they see on the TV to see, oh my gosh, like, okay, so this person's into that. Like, that's just, and then it opens that dialogue as well for you to be like, okay, cool, like, I guess they're not so scary or intimidating or whatever the case is. So
yeah, it definitely feels like that, you know, breaking these like stereotypes and narratives. I was just thinking, like, I'm guessing that you was raised in London, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so I'm raised outside of London, but I live in London now, and I think sometimes the Black experience is different outside of London.
I can imagine, yeah.
So the reason why I said that is, like, when I came to London, it's really hard to make friends in London, because everyone's like, especially people from South. I don't know if you're from South. People do not come out of South London, if only if they have to for work. I was like, but for me, live in different places, I'll just travel across the water.
Yeah.
I'll just do that. But some people, you know, it can be quite local, you know, even though London is such a big place.
Yeah.
So now we get more globalized, like we haven't met together, you know, in real life. You know, what advice do you have for people to find their Black women communities and to just connect or to collaborate? Because some people, especially in Britain, if you ask someone something, or if you don't have so much followers, they're like, why are you doing that for? You know what I mean? How do you overcome that kind of fear? What are the practical steps, you know, to stop, you know, second guessing yourself?
Yeah, I definitely can relate to that, because like it took me so long to start anything. So, and I know, like, again, me being someone that I didn't know where I necessarily quite fit in. So I wasn't even sure, like, okay, what type of community would I even approach? Like, where, what events would I go to? So I can't lie to you, again, because I was already like reading a lot of blogs and I was like heavy on YouTube when it started. A lot of people were creating their own sort of communities. And so any YouTuber or blogger I identified with, I just joined their group. I joined whatever they had going on, because I felt like, well, I feel like there's a lot of things I can relate to you about. So I'm gonna join whatever it is that you've got going on, because clearly whoever else is gonna join is gonna be a bit like me, you know? And then doing that, then was like, it was really interesting. Even if I didn't contribute or anything, it was just nice reading like different stories and hearing from different people that were maybe not trying to be YouTubers or whatever, but just wanted other people to talk to that they felt comfortable with, having those discussions via the blog or via whatever, you know, community group that it was online. So I would say, you know, if you're someone who's a bit maybe scared, like just going to events alone, or you don't feel like you have friends that, you know, you could really just push to like go to an event with, I would just definitely say start online. Like there are so many, like, I mean, hundreds and thousands of like communities online. And I would say get familiar with the community that you're trying to join. So read up on them, you know, what are they about? People out there that, you know, front like, oh, to do is what you said. Okay, cool. So just do your research, you know, make sure they're actually targeting some of the things that you want to know about, the groups that, you know, you want to be a part of, etc. And just try talking to people on there. Sometimes, like some of the groups that I've joined over the years, they have Zoom meetings, team meetings and things like that. Go, you don't have to say anything, just like, but be there, because then it just breaks that, you know, barrier between you and that community. At least if they know you're there, then they know you have an interest beyond just liking the page or just following it. And then one day, you know, just go. You know, I don't know, like take yourself out for lunch or something, dress nicely, and just go. And even if you sit right at the back, it doesn't matter. Just be there in that space and listen, and it will just change, you know, even the way you view yourself. And once you've done it once, it's like you can just do it again, you know. And that fear kind of just washes away with time. But it takes time. Some people they can just say, you know what, cool, this is it. I know what I want to do, so I'm just going to go. Fantastic. But if you know, if you're someone who's a bit like me, that's a bit more reserved, or you know, just not as forthcoming, then build yourself up to that and just give yourself that grace. You will get there. And then it will just become second nature, because the more you go to these things, the more you attend these things, the more you partake in these online communities, you're going to find people. And some of the women that, you know, came on my show, I met them online as well. I had never met them before, but, you know, just literally through their blog or whatever it was, we met that way, and then, you know, it became real life friendships. So just got to start somewhere, like literally.
Got to start. You got to put yourself out there, and you just got to start. So looking at your bio, what you said, you talk about, you know, looking at Black women's narratives and seeing it in a different light. And I'm just wondering, like, why, I know we talk about representation, but why for you think you should put this onto a platform? There's so many already, but why do you think, what do you do differently?
Absolutely. I feel like, going back to kind of what I said a bit earlier on in the conversation, I never really knew where I fit in. Like, I was always like, I just had so many random friends. So like, I had friends that were like really into like anime and like things like that. And then I had friends that were like really into like dancing and performing and singing. And then I had friends that were like really into like, I don't know, playing sports and things like that. So I always had friends from like different pockets or different groups, like so friendship groups, if you want to call them that. And having those always gave me like different perspectives, not just into like other people, but into myself. And I realized, oh my gosh, okay, cool. Like, who am I? You know, and what does that mean? And where do I find myself? And that's how I kind of became so obsessed with like YouTube and like the bloggers, because that's when I saw people who had those like, who were just like a bit, I would say maybe even all over the place, if you like just like so many different things. That's where I saw them, and they were just weird and wacky and goofy and just had rubbish jokes, but they were laughing all the time. And I was like, oh, I can relate to that. But then again, when I turn on the TV and I watch my favorite programs and I'm watching my favorite artists, like they're nothing like me. Like, we're so far removed, but I can appreciate what they do and I can appreciate this is funny, but like, there's no me in that, you know? And so it gets to a point where it's like, I eventually just stopped watching TV altogether, because I was just like, well, this is just not appealing to me at all. And having gone through my own, you know, transition from teenager to adulthood, then I came to just kind of like accept who I am and understand that there isn't necessarily a box to define me and my Black experience or who I am as a Black woman, but actually that I'm just a multidimensional person, as everybody is, to be honest. But I do feel like some people are able to find their tribe a lot easier just because maybe there's certain things they're more stronger or passionate about. Well, for me, it's like, I just love everybody. I love everything. So it's sometimes it can be a bit hard. So having that switched off from TV and just kind of stuck to like that online community, I just thought, you know what, like, we're in a day and age now where literally everything is digital, and yet still we're getting the same messages over and over again. While 10 years ago, I could literally go onto YouTube and I could find like a certain YouTuber and I could binge watch everything they do for like the whole day. But now I can't do that. I can't watch a lot of these people for a long period of time, because it's the same rhetoric, it's the same narrative, it's the same, you know, stereotype, it's the same picture being displayed over and over and over again. So I was just like, you know what, I'm going to reach out to my fellow me's for the next generation, and just see like if we can create a space, create a platform where all the different personalities, all the different types of people that kind of under Black and being women, can just share who they are with people, so that if there's ever another girl that is out there that's a bit like myself, wherever on the spectrum that is, they can feel like, cool, I can relate to this. I can see literally someone like me, maybe he's a bit indecisive, maybe who loves so many different things, actually still, you know, loving and embracing who they are and going forward. Because a lot of stigmas come around when people, you know, expect you to look in a certain way and behave a certain way, and then you don't. And that can also cause a conflict within yourself. Like, okay, am I doing something wrong? Am I really that weird? You know, and all of these different questions. And it, you know, already when you're a teenager or a young adult, you're already questioning everything anyways, but let alone now when you're not even sure, like, okay, so if I'm not really a Black woman, what am I? You know, and it's just like an extra layer of just confusion. So I really just wanted to put that, you know, on every platform I can, whether that's, you know, podcast, radio, whether that's on a screen, just so that it can be seen, heard, and felt, so that those girls and women can also feel seen, heard, and felt. Like, your story doesn't make you any less Black, your weirdness, quirkiness, whatever, doesn't make you any less Black, doesn't make you any less of a woman. You are who you are, you know. If God wanted you to be somebody else, you would be, but you're not. So
absolutely.
Sorry, that was really long.
No, but I feel it was quite powerful, because, hold on, let's see. Come on, internet. Come on, internet. Internet, can you hear me? Internet, you can hear me? Okay, cool. I'm just going to talk anyway. So I just felt it was very, very powerful. It was very powerful because you can hear the conviction and the self-belief. And sometimes in society, people don't expect you to be confident, and, you know, you have to always shy away from stuff, but you just said what you had to say. And it was unfiltered, uncensored. Sometimes as Black women, or just some people, you feel sometimes censored, and you have to.
Oh, I think it's cutting out.
Oh, I'm sorry. It cuts out when I talk. Maybe the weather is telling me something.
Exactly.
I don't know why. Maybe it's me. It's me. The internet doesn't like me for some reason for today. Or the Wi-Fi. It was working all fine. It was working amazingly until now. Can you hear me? Sounds like you could hear me. Are we connecting? We're connecting.
Oh, it's been so annoying.
I'm here. Listen, this is real life, people. I am here. I'm here, and this is real life. Yeah.
I've seen your message. Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna do this probably via here. Okay, you can hear me? Okay. Hold on. We're going to do this podcast. We're going to do this. Okay. We're here. We are here. We're going to do this because we got to learn in life. And when you have adversity, you just got to get things done. So I put in the chat. I put in the chat, what is your light bulb moment? I'm here. Wow, this is a first for me. This is a first. I don't know if it's the fireworks. Yay! Okay.
Oh, you're back.
This is the podcast about resilience. This is the I don't care.
I'm telling you.
This podcast is going to happen. I don't care. It's going to happen. Okay.
Amen to that.
Right. What I was going to say, we might wrap up quite soon because it seems like the internet is on our side now. So I'm going to get it while it's good and get you talking. What you said was quite powerful. What the next question I was going to ask you, what has been your light bulb moment over the past year?
Yeah, over the past, I would definitely say it's like completely just like letting go of the past. For me, it was just coming to that point of realization that what was and what is. And I think that kind of just stems off of my personal journey and just relationship with God and just accepting certain things. Because I think sometimes, you know, you like to think that with the knowledge you have now, you could have done something different then. But actually, without that happening then, you wouldn't reach this point now. So it's actually just accepting that, appreciating that, and just letting it stay where it is, which is in the past. And just enjoying the now and looking forward to the future. And that's just helped me make better decisions overall, I think. And it's just helped me be more confident as well, because it lets me know that, you know, I can do certain things, I can overcome things, and that I'm more capable than I sometimes give myself credit for. I think a lot of the times then I you know, what I could really do, what I could really offer. But now it's sort of like, well, no, you know, I have this knowledge or I have this experience, and it's just time to go and get it, really and truly. So yeah, I would say it's the pandemic really helped that, just like accepting the past for what it was and enjoying what is and looking forward to tomorrow.
Perfect. Thank you for that. The last question I want to ask you while the internet is no internet, we're doing this, we're finishing this podcast. I don't care, because we have to do what we have to do. All right. The last question before anything happens to us is the last question is, what is one of the best things someone has said about your podcast, like a listener or one of your guests?
Oh, and I'm only thinking because I'm just thinking, like, I've been told so many various things that I didn't even think about the podcast. Like, it wasn't my intention when I set out to do it. But it is still stuck with me. And that's just really like, thank you for being yourself enough to put yourself forward, to not only share your story, but to genuinely allow other Black women to shine along with you, and not, you know, using it as a way to necessarily, I don't know, like, I guess what they tried to say was like, not to like maybe boost myself or quote unquote put on the impression of, you know, wanting to do something for the community, when really it's just about me. But that to me was like it was a very odd compliment. But I remember, because I just thought to myself, like, what do you mean really by that? Like, I was trying to understand for a little while, like, what, like, should I take this as a compliment? They were like, yes, no, it is a compliment. And when they were breaking it down and I was trying to further understand what they meant, I won't throw shade or anything like that, but giving examples of certain people that, you know, they've tried to watch over the years or tried to support over the years, who, you know, had a similar maybe start or similar maybe motto or, you know, direction that they were trying to head in. But when it came down to, you know, being in proximity with that community, that group, those individuals, they realized it had nothing to do with their community. It had everything to do with the quote unquote spokesperson, if you like, the organizer. And it was more about just using them to fuel whatever their agenda was, to further propel themselves. And that made me really sad, actually, because I feel like if that was me and I attended something, or I was watching something, I was listening to something, and I felt like, you know, this person doesn't actually care about what they're talking about. They're just talking for talking's sake. Yeah, that would be really disheartening, because like, why use this as a way to kind of, but now I see it a lot, actually. So the time when the person said it, I hadn't really seen it, but now I see it a lot, where people just use Black issues and, you know, human rights issues as a way to kind of just propaganda whatever it is that they've got going on, or to promote themselves or whatever, which is sad, because at the end of the day, how I see it is, we're all humans. This is a human experience, and also you claim to want to look after. I'm much sincere about that. So the fact that that was felt very early on was really, really encouraging to me, and it made me. Oh, you're on mute.
Right. Third time is a charm. We're going to do this. We're going to end out with a bang. So you was just saying at the end that we were all human, and then it went its own little way, and then we're going to wrap up, because we've got a good couple of minutes before the internet. Great. So.
Okay.
So you cool. About the human. You use that everyone was all human, and we should just propel.
Yeah, I feel like we're all human at the end of the day, and I feel like if you're going to, you know, claim to advocate for a cause, especially when you're talking about marginalized groups who, you know, experience so much trauma, and vulnerable people, like, you should be sincere about that. Like, I don't see why, because there's just so many ways for you to just do what you want to do without having to kind of claim to be an advocate or, you know, claim to care about a particular cause, a particular group of people, because it's going to be sensitive for those group of people, of course, because there's a lot of trauma behind, you know, what their identity, you know, and what they've experienced as a result of that. So it was just nice that early on that somebody could pick up on that, especially when I was just like literally still testing the waters and not, you know, I was still just trying to figure out what does the next step look like now that I have this thing. But it's good to know because it is something I'm definitely am passionate about. So that will never change for me. And the end goal, like I always say, is for this to live way beyond me. So yeah, cool, I can start it. But eventually I would love for it to be a thing that's just completely run by other people in the community that are equally as passionate, if not more, about the same cause as I am, so that can continue to be a thing for the next generation onwards. So yeah.
Perfect. Nicely said, nicely done. Very encourage everyone to, you know, go to your podcast, follow all your creative endeavors. So where can we find you? Even it's going to be in the show notes. Where can we find you and your community?
Yes, absolutely. So on Instagram and Twitter, I'm just starting to like use Twitter a bit more. So yeah, definitely follow the Twitter. And then of course the show is on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts, and iTunes as well. Then it's across like Anchor and some other, I guess, random podcast
What is
apps.
it called though? Talks with
Ada B. And Ada B is just literally ADAB.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This is the Black Creative Handbook podcast. Please connect, grow the community. We're all Black creatives, we're all just trying to do our best and make the world a better place, connect, and you know, just leave the world a better place, I guess. So yeah, thank you, and speak to you another time. Thank you.